Welcome to Taiwan Talks. I'm Rath Wang. All eyes continue to be on South Korea after President Yoon Suk Yeol briefly declared martial law. Yoon's second impeachment vote passed at least 12 of his own party members backing the motion. Yoon now has his presidential power suspended with the final verdict in the hands of the Constitutional Court. We'll discuss what this means for the region and the future of U.S. South Korea alliance. Joining us today are Liou To-hai, National Chengchi University College of International Affairs Adjunct Distinguished Professor, Chyungly Lee, National Chengchi University Institute of International Relations Professor and Research Fellow. A very warm welcome to both on the show today. Yoon is the third president to be impeached after former presidents Roh Moo-hyun and Park Geun-hye. Both Taiwan and South Korea are seen as strong democracies in a region that is increasingly authoritarian. With South Korea being the last East Asian country to diplomatically recognize Taiwan until 1992, we'll talk about how this could affect that relationship. Professor Liu, yes. Despite South Korea having high rankings globally from Freedom House and other organizations, what causes these presidents to be impeached or end in scandal?
I think it's pretty relevant to South Korea's very unique political culture. You know, South Korea has been this kind of fierce confrontation between the leftists and the rightists. This can be dated back to the 1945. Actually, before the American forces landed on the Korean Peninsula, South Korea already being organized by a group of leftists led by the Jong-un. This group reached agreement with Japanese government when Japan lost the war. They reached agreement to release the Korean prisoners in jail and allowed Japanese to return home peacefully. In addition, they also set up their own autonomous government under the name the Republic of Korea, People's Republic of Korea. So that is why it's already under the leftist control. However, when the American forces arrived, General Hodge did not trust the leftists. That is why he asked them to abandon all the existing organizations and ask them to organize the political parties. You know, try to help them to copy the American democratic politics of the party politics.
Which is what we see today with the different parties in Korea.
Yes. So, but the thing is, the big thing is that you know, Hodge actually forcefully turned Korean politics from the left to the right. This actually was followed by the more than 50 years of conservative rulers from Lee Seung-man through Park Chung-hee, Chen Du-hwan, through the end of the end of the 20th century. During this period, lots of leftists suffered. They were either put in jail or even tortured to death or become handicapped. Because they came against the rightists, you know, Lee Seung-man government is very corrupted, and then followed by military coup by Park Chung-hee, and then another coup by Chen Du-hwan. The second example was Kim Dae-jung actually. So Kim Dae-jung was put in jail several times on a death sentence.
And perhaps we'll see a return of the left. Professor Lee, how much of this is a structural issue?
I think that no perfect democratic system here or there, okay? So I consider scandal and also the president get into jail is not unique in South Korea. Okay, maybe in other countries, they also, the leaders, when they step down, they also happen to be accused for their scandals. But those things are personal scandals or personal misbehaviors. But this one, I do see a significant for this one, because I think this is a challenge to democracy, and it's the test of democracy resilience here. Okay, so we have watched what happened recently, that the executive power and the legislative power are in the confrontations, right? In South Korea, I mean, and then the abuse of using martial law is a risk. It's a risk, and some people also call it a self-coup. Right, so I think the significance for us to watch here is to see how strong the democracy can get back the so-called resilience of democracy here. So it's kind of different, not just accuse their personal behaviors, but also kind of challenging the whole democratic system there.
How much confidence do you have in the current South Korean democratic system?
Okay, so there are always weaknesses, right? But we see from the past, they have protested almost every week, but they still have the regular democratic process there. So I think I do see they will come back. They will come back. Yeah.
Speaking of that, Han Duck-soo, the prime minister, is now the acting president. If the Constitutional Court issues its verdict to remove Yoon from office within 180 days, the country will need to elect a new president between April and June of 2025. Han could well be the acting president for over 6 months. He's already spoken to President Biden and the U.S. military commander. Professor Liu, what would this mean for the country's alliance with the U.S.?
I think so far should be no problem, because Han Duck-soo is still representing the conservative government. So U.S. and South Korea have a very strong alliance. In particular, under Yoon Suk Yeol government, he has been regarded as the most conservative president, or you can say the radical conservative. But now he's not there. But the government will be functioning as usual until about what you just mentioned about perhaps they are going to have a re-election of the president.
But do you feel there's also some infighting within the ruling party, given that there have been many legislators that have defected to vote to impeach President Yoon?
That's relevant to the contradiction between Yoon Suk Yeol and the former People Power Party's leader, Han Dong-hun. Two of them could not get along well, so that is why they were under this kind of fighting. Most important, why the second impeachment bill passed, it's actually relevant to Yoon Suk Yeol. He released the taped film. He said he did not do anything wrong, everything for the country. He changed his mind. The first one he talked about is he's going to accept everything from the ruling party's decision. But later he changed. He said he was going to stay there until the end of his term. So that means he was against the ruling party, his own party. So that is why Han Dong-hun and his followers decided to vote for the impeachment.
Professor Lee, Professor Liu believes that it wouldn't impact too much in terms of the relationship with the U.S. and in terms of defense. Do you see any impact in terms of Taiwan and how South Korea sees that?
Okay. I think the current situation, the acting president Han, what's the top priority for him is the domestic stability, right? And the second, in terms of external relations, he has to make sure that no party, including North Korea, can take advantage of this political or leadership crisis in South Korea. And so I think, and by the way, the U.S. South Korea alliance, I think it will remain the same. I agree with Professor Liu here. And as far as for Taiwan, I think Taiwan is not under the radar yet. I probably later he will think about Taiwan issue. But we know that South Korea has been kind of reserved their positions to speak for Taiwan in the past, not until last year. Okay, so currently I don't think he will pay too much attention to Taiwan.
Speaking of peace and security in a regional perspective, Professor Lee, do you feel this could affect the relationship with Japan?
We know that the Japan new Prime Minister Ishida has already said that they will not change the relations with South Korea, right? So I think South Korea and Japan, they both have the new government, especially in South Korea. We don't know who will become the next leader. So they will hold on there. They will not shift their policy or give a big turn on their relationship. So I think this one can be stable for a while until they have a new president.
Rest assured. Given the elephant in the room and with the unpopularity of the PPP, many analysts say Lee Jae-myung, leader of the opposition Democratic Party, could likely be elected the next president. Given his party's friendlier stance on China, including his own words at a campaign rally this year saying, quote, "Why keep pestering China? Whatever happens in the Taiwan Strait, whatever happens with China, and Taiwan's domestic issues, why and what does it matter to us?" How concerning are these words, Professor Liu?
Yes, we need to know about those progressive forces, those people. How do they think about the war? From their perspective, number one, they believe South Korea has to get along well with North Korea, at least for in the future. They might become reunited again. They want to make friends with North Korea. In that case, they need to have a positive relationship with China because they believe China is the only country who can have a say on North Korea, and North Korea most time will follow China's instruction. Then U.S. is actually the third, this kind of a sequence in terms of priority. So in that case, so that is why they will not think too much about Taiwan because they focus on their domestic politics. See whether South Korea can maintain its independent foreign policy behavior from the big power, involvement.
Professor Lee, having more of a focus on domestic politics, as Professor Liu mentioned, do you feel that substantially this could affect Taiwan policy, or do you feel it's more just in terms of the rhetoric?
I think if the oppositional leader, Lee Jae-myung, got elected for the next president, then we know that his stance, his positions is more pro-China. We understand that so far, right? So I think that's something of course, we have to be cautious on that. So we don't expect too much progress on Taiwan and South Korea relations, but probably will not regress too much either. Okay, so probably just there. Just like that. So that's something we know, okay? But, in terms of the attitude of U.S., in the past, we know Democratic Party leader, Moon Jae-in, President Moon belonged to Democratic Party as well, right? But at that time, he was also very friendly to China. But that doesn't mean he will give up the relations with the United States. So that's a trend we will expect. Not so extreme to stand one side, but they will not give up either relations.
Professor Lee mentioned the balance without giving up the U.S. or either China. How do you see this in terms of defense, given that, similar to Taiwan, South Korea's largest security guarantor is the United States? Do you feel that could change, given that it navigates both powers?
So actually, we talk about South Korea. That is a major variable, of course. On the other hand, we also need to think about the victory of Donald Trump. That's South Koreans concerned most, because already mentioned about Donald Trump. He just wants to do his own way, and the big difference, if we compare with the Biden administration tend to focus on the multilateral approach. That means form alliance is very important. U.S., Japan, Korea alliance against China and Russia, North Korea. But not Donald Trump. Donald Trump believes I am the natural leader of the democratic countries anyway. So everybody should just follow me. So I am the protagonist. I directly negotiate with China, North Korea, or da. So this South Korea is already mentioned about South Korea's concern.
Professor Lee, some analysts have actually said that Trump 2.0 could be a bit different from Trump 1.0, where there are more used to the administration and how to deal with the national government in terms of defense and all these other issues. Do you feel that we would see the same rhetoric in terms of having allies or partners of the U.S. pay up in terms of defense, or do you feel that this could be a different turn?
Okay, we know that U.S., Japan, and South Korea, they get together under Biden's Indo-Pacific strategy. Okay, so just like Professor Liu said, that it's more collective deterrence strategy. So they kind of get all the friends together, right, and to deter. The target is China. China's expansion, right? But Trump here, as Professor Liu just mentioned, he prefers to use bilateral approach. So he will negotiate bilaterally, and so it's not just Trump, but also the counterpart of those other countries. So how do they think about, how will they think about to make a deal with Trump, and how do they try to get a better deal than others? Okay, so I think from this perspective, South Korea will not withdraw easily, because if South Korea withdraw from this collective deterrence strategy, then Trump will just negotiate with Japan and get a better deal, and probably that will push U.S. and Japan even closer, but left South Korea there alone. So I think South Korea will try to also negotiate with Trump here. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Let's turn to North Korea. Authoritarian regimes from China to North Korea have historically leveraged large-scale protests or unrest, even corruption seen in democracies, to justify their iron fist rule. However, we've seen a pretty muted response from North Korea, given that there was no national broadcast with its spokesperson, only brief comments from its state media, and that was 8 days of silence after the fact. Professor Liu, what explains this silence?
Yeah, conservatives, they tended to take advantage of North Korean factor in order to consolidate their domestic power in the South Korea's case. So that is why if North Korea, make any venture that can help the Yoon Suk Yeol perhaps to cling to his power, because now we still don't know the verdict of the Constitutional Court yet, right? So if anything happened from the North Korea, that actually helped the conservatives to continue to be in power. So that is why North Korea want to see the rise of the Lee Jae-myung, of course, the opposition party leader. And another important thing we need to know, now Kim Jong-un, in his mind, everything is relevant to Donald Trump. He is very eager to establish formal diplomatic relations with United States. So he can finish the historical mission for the Kim's dynasty. So this is very important. So that is why he does not have too much interest in South Korea, just watching.
Professor Lee, you mentioned earlier in terms of the authoritarian nature of martial law and how it's controversial. Do you feel North Korea sees this as something that they are used to and that they do not want to be too close to this?
I think, ironically, probably in North Korea, first, I think that it's a shock to them as well. They did not know what to react immediately, because if you react, support either way, it's not good for them. So ironically, probably this declaration of martial law is welcoming to North Korea, right? Because it's more, they become more close in political ideology there. So, and the other thing I feel is that since in the constitution of North Korea, they have clear say that this is two independent states. They are not pursuing unification anymore. I mean, North Korea, right? So probably this is one of the reasons they reserve their position. Because in the past, if they have this unification as a goal for their policy towards South Korea, they will criticize the leader of South Korea and think that probably North Korea is better, can have better leadership, right? So criticize the person. Personally, the leader of South Korea here. And third thing, I think North Korea is quite busy nowadays. They have the troops in Ukraine, right? And they have the collaboration, conflicts of collaboration with Russia, and that also put them very busy at this time. So I think they kind of hesitate to respond. Probably later, probably next week or the week, months later, they know how to respond now.
So it remains to be seen.
Yeah.
Professor Liu, I wanted to turn back to Donald Trump. Do you feel that once Trump gets back into office in his second administration, there could be another Kim-Trump meeting?
I think definitely. He has already appointed, Alex Wong as his administration's future deputy security advisor to him. So that guy, he was behind the scene to organize the Donald Trump's summit with Kim Jong-un in Hanoi last time, 2019. So that shows that he wants to take advantage of this guy to help him to reorganize the summit. Let alone, he said several times during the campaign, he wants to meet Kim Jong-un again.
How substantial do you feel this would be in terms of the region's peace? Do you feel that it could lower tensions in the region if it goes successfully, which we did not see in the first term?
Actually, it's going to be a totally different version. Because this time, here, Donald Trump already mentioned about he wants to split China and Russia. So that is why his first task was to fix the Russia-Ukraine war first, in order to make friends with Russia, and then perhaps establish the foreign diplomatic relations with North Korea. So he can form a new type of anti-China alliance in order to force China to offer enormous economic assistance or investment to the United States.
2025 is also a special year for the Korean Peninsula, marking 75 years since the start of the Korean War. Professor Lee, how do you read the future of this? Do you feel that it could have an impact on the region and vis-a-vis Taiwan as well?
I think in terms of North Korea, in terms of Northeast Asia security, of course, Korea Peninsula always a concern here, and I still want to go back to the policy recently changed by North Korea, right? So unification is no longer the goal, and then as long as they can get along, so who wants to unify is South Korea, but South Korea will not use force, right? So this is a kind of a balance there. If nobody fire the first gunfire, then probably will remain a peace here. So thinking about Taiwan, also the one wanted to unify will take a more proactive approach, right? But I don't mean necessarily the military approach, but a proactive approach, right? So it's a game to watch, see how to play back and forth about this strategy here.
And do you feel that could shift the focus in terms of people say how Taiwan is now one of the hottest spots in the region? Do you feel, how would the dynamics of that go?
It depends on whether U.S. and China can get along well. If they cannot, the situation would not be in China's benefit. Of course, they might change because of Elon Musk, He made a huge investment in China, yeah, and this time is different. He is in Donald Trump's second term administration. So that is very likely he can make something change. So that is why we don't know yet. But at least I think 2025 is not going to be a very dramatic change in a big way because the U.S. and China, they will continue to negotiate with each other for a while.
Speaking of negotiations, Professor Lee, we've also heard Donald Trump come out and say that global problems can be solved between both major superpowers, the U.S. and China. Do you feel this goodwill will continue?
Neither party will give up negotiation. Okay, so they will keep this in mind, but the thing is, who has more bargaining chips, right? So that's another thing we have to look at. And I think Trump has his plan, okay, and saying things aloud. But the situation are different. In terms of North Korea, they have more option now. They have Russia, right, and they have more closer tie. But China, although China has not playing a major role in influence North Korea's policy, but North Korea now they have closer tie with Russia. So I agree with Professor Liu. If Trump really wanted to win the trust from North Korea, probably Trump has to deal with Russia as well. So I forgot the first one. Yeah, so that's something I think that we have to watch closely. In other words, Trump, of course, we understand his approach and his policy, and he speaks loud. But the responses from neighboring countries probably will be different. Especially we saw what happened in the first Trump administration. People prepare for that, already prepared for 4 years. So even Trump does not want to get involved in multilateral collaboration. But multilateral collaboration, do we really need Trump to be there? So all the middle power, all the small power, they are working together to build the multilateral cooperation, even without Trump. So that's the thing. I think I see the difference between first administration and second administration.
Thank you very much for both of your insights. If you liked our show, please search for us on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, and hit subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching, stay safe, and see you next time.